Welcome to Synthaholics. This is your host, David Duncan, and with me is...
Three Finger Special, Aaron O'Brien.
Oh, 3. 6 if you count both hands.
Well, welcome back, Dave. We missed you last episode, and now you're back.
Oh, thanks. I guess we won't be able to get into an hour-long conversation on comics.
Well, you know, I guess you're not perfect.
I'm not perfect. I'm unfortunately not as comic aficionado as you and Guy are.
Well... And the funny thing is we didn't really talk about other comics. We just talked about his comics and writing comics and drawing comics. So there's so much more comics we could actually get into.
This is a true fact.
So we're talking about The Traveler, a character who has been near and dear to our hearts in the last couple episodes. And he shows up in 3 different episodes. It goes into season 1 where no one has gone before. Season 4, Remember Me. And then season 7, Journey's End. It's
about time we're doing a themed episode again.
I know.
I think it's been over a year.
It has been way over a year, and I want to do more themed because there's just so much fun just to like focus down on like one subject or one character or something to that nature. So this is always fun.
Oh, but for sure, and we've had lots of fun speculation about The Traveler in the past, so this will be an episode full of speculation.
Much speculation. As for Star Trek news, I haven't really seen much. The only thing that I saw that Shatner said that he'd be open to reprising the role as Kirk again.
Shatner says no to no work.
I know. I mean, we said off mic, I think that's what part of his, other than his talent, I think part of his success is that he just says, yeah, I'll try that, or yeah, I'll do that. But
it's like instead of saying, oh, I'll say yes for, to everything for a week, he says it, at least to acting jobs for his entire life.
Well, if you think he's, Star Trek will probably was like, he came across his table, the script, and he was like, yeah, I'll try it, whatever. I think he's probably done that with other things as well, like
Rescue 911.
Rescue 9. No, it wasn't Rescue 9.
T.J. Hooker. No, but he was also in Rescue 911. I remember that somewhat vividly as a child watching that episode, watching that show.
Really? Mm-hmm. I don't remember that. I know he did Boston Legal.
Boston Legal, yeah.
Last big show, but yeah. So,
and then also had Renee Auberjonois. Odo.
Yeah, it did. It absolutely did. I think the thing is, not that I don't love Shatner and I don't love him doing Kirk. I just think that it's like, do we want to remember him as a 80-year-old man as Kirk? The last time we saw him as Kirk was Generations, and he was kind of getting a little older, in his 60s, I think.
Yeah.
So,
late 50s or early 60s.
Yeah.
At least.
And he still looked good for that age, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying it's like, do we really want to see him again? And I've seen pictures of him recently, and it's just, I don't know. Whatever.
I don't know. I'm torn. I don't know if I really want to see him again because, he said before that he doesn't want to just do a cameo. He wants to have a decent sized part. And I don't know what he could do as a decent sized part.
Of course he does. Yeah.
that wouldn't be a cameo. So I just don't see him. I just don't see them. That was the whole point of him not being in the 2009 reboot was because they didn't want him to upstage Chris Pine.
Right. Which I could see it doing.
Oh yeah, he would totally do that. If you give him the opportunity. But, in the original script for Beyond was supposed to be, supposedly, Spock and Kirk, you're supposed to see both generations of them at the same time, and that fell through,
right.
Partially due to Leonard Nimoy's death and partially due to what a cluster frig the production was. As bad as the craziest the production seemed on Star Trek Beyond, it's almost even crazier for Star Trek Discovery. So it's just like, what? How come Star Trek can't get anything easy?
Well, let's face it. The thing is, Shatner's is a big part of Star Trek, and there's no getting around it. And if he was in any of those JJ reboots, he would just it would just overshadow everybody. So I don't know.
I mean, but could they somehow put him in Star Trek Discovery somehow?
It's possible, but as an older guy, I mean, maybe he plays Kirk's father.
Maybe, or resurrected Kirk post TNG era somehow, doing a flashback of what happened 10 years before he was captain of the Enterprise. I don't know. But if they do a way to link, because usually the first episode of a Star Trek series always somehow links to a previous generation of Star Trek.
Right.
And if they're going to do anything, they'll probably have to do T'Pol, get Jolene Blaylock for the first episode, just have her somewhere. Or maybe old, Jonathan Archer.
Right.
Because, in the 2009 movie, Scotty beamed his prize beagle and he was upset about it. So, Archer's still alive somehow at 160.
Right. It's true enough. Well, it's the future. People live longer. So although, I love Shatner, I just don't know if anything fits into what he's going to, how he could fit into anything right now.
In a big way, because because he said no to doing cameos for Star Trek. So I'm just maybe he's changed his mind. It's maybe he's well, maybe I'll take a cameo just because it might be my last chance.
Yeah.
Who knows? But maybe we can ask him at Nickel City Con in a week and a half.
Yeah, we'll be seeing him in the flesh. So.
Yeah, actually, it's 2 weeks from today we record. It'll be a week and a half from the day you guys hear it, because it'll be he'll only be here Saturday in Buffalo.
Yeah, right. And just so everyone know, if you are listening to this and you are going to go to Nickel City Con, I will be there. I have a table for my New Minute Comics. I'll be at table A21. So if you want to stop by and say, hey, I listened to Synthaholics, that'd be awesome. I'd love to talk to you. So definitely stop by if you're there. Dave, we don't have a table for Synthaholics. You're just going to be floating around. I'm
going to be floating around. I'll probably be hanging out at Aaron's table, the Geekiverse table. I don't think Artful Gremlins is having a table, so I'll just be floating around the con. I'll use those Aaron's table and the Geekiverse as kind of my base of operations as I move around the con. I'll probably be attending a couple panels as well, because Shatner and Nichelle Nichols is going to be there, so that'd be pretty fantastic to check those out.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we've experienced before when we did Queen City the Queen City Con, when we had the table there, it was kind of limiting because you're kind of just trapped at one table and you can't move around. And when you did the second one where you met the guys from the Geekiverse and in Nerdy Nomicon and Robbie and all those guys from Artful Gremlins, it was great because you could just kind of float around, and it was
I could hang out with them. I could go do whatever I needed to, go back hang out with them some more. It just made things a whole lot easier for me, because when we did the Buffalo Comic Con 2 years ago, you had your Visions table and I had my Synthaholics table, and you came over and helped. Sometimes you had your stuff you had to focus on too, so that just made it very hard for one person to run a table. And I'm not selling anything; I'm just trying to get people to talk to me, and not many people really wanted to talk. So, and stop the table. So if I'm mobile, people seem more willing to talk to me.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I think the key is that if you're walking around and you can talk to somebody, you don't have to be stuck at a table and kind of chained there. And I just think about. I basically, just because you were walking around at last con, how many people we got to meet, or through you, I got to meet through you, and all the relationships we've built in the last year. So less than a year, actually. But
yeah, it's pretty exciting. So we're excited about the con, and we just wanted to mention it up front. I will probably mention it at the end, but wanted to mention it sort of up front in case you guys are in the area and want to come to the con and want to see us. We will be there. I'll probably dress obviously. I'll probably have a Star Trek shirt on or something. Aaron will be locked down at his table. I might be at the Geekiverse table, so say hi to the Geekiverse people because they've been on our show before. So, say hi to them as well.
Absolutely. Well, should we start talking about our friend, the Traveler?
The Traveler. He's so friendly. He's almost too friendly. Interesting thing on Memory Alpha is he was actually auditioned for the part of Data. he did not get the part of Data. Instead, he got the consolation prize of showing up 3 times in the series.
Well, yeah, it's funny thing is, his character is so placid, and he's very comforting when you talk to him. But I don't think you would have as much as a fun time with him. I mean, maybe not. I mean, maybe he would be, he would grow into that role. Because I mean, as we recall, the first season of Data was a little like flat. But
but like the thing is, he does have that weird, creepy vibe that Data has. But I think Brent Spiner is slightly less creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, their makeup colors are very similar.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got facial prosthetics where Data doesn't, but like, and then he's got those like horrid looking hands that look like he's like camel toes. He's got camel toe hands.
Oh my god,
they look terrible. Like they're just giant and knotted, and like he's got the most biggest fingernails on them. Like wow.
Oh my god,
that just doesn't look right at all. It's like 2 giant toes on his for hands.
Oh my god!
And somehow he's supposed to be able to enter these equations in way faster than a guy with 10 regular fingers.
Well, anyways,
he can really do those camel toes.
Well, yeah, and which is cool is that the gloves or whatever they gave him to make him look like that, they really look very convincing.
Yeah,
like,
they do.
I don't see it and go like, that looks weird. You know, it really looks good.
I mean, it's a good prosthetic. It still looks weird. It's just a strange hand structure.
Oh yeah, well I'm a little more familiar because in the X-Men, one of my favorite characters, the X-Men, is Nightcrawler, and he's got the same fingers.
Oh, okay.
And toes too. So, So anyway, so we first meet the Traveler. He is
Kaczynski's.
Yeah, he's Kaczynski's assistant, right? Kozinski's assistant.
How did he get that job?
You know, I think he must have, from what I can tell, especially from the Remember Me episode, there must be some validity to his warp field ideas. But I think the Traveler basically pushed it over the edge.
Yeah, because it's weird because like I think they referenced Kaczynski in both episodes.
Yeah,
the Traveler's
besides the Journey's End. I don't think they referenced him then.
Okay, but they definitely did in Remember Me.
Oh yeah, because obviously Wesley's working on his warp field structure, which is funny that he would even give it a second thought.
Yeah, and then that many years later.
Right, exactly. So
it's, but it's just I guess it's because he is having that weird talk with the Traveler in the Where No Man Has Gone Before, where he's the Traveler's asking him, "Do you think this will work?"
Yeah, well, and I guess it's more of anything is that I think he had some validity to it, but obviously Kozinski was such an ass in the show.
I love him though; he's so funny.
Oh, he's great. I mean, he's the perfect.
He's like the asshole you love to hate and love at the same time.
Right. So he's a blowhard who obviously has he thinks of himself way too much, but it's the Traveler.
He lost his communicator. He just goes around without a communicator on the entire time.
And what ranked it was Kozinski too. Like he didn't seem to have any real rank.
I wonder if he's just like a petty officer because he didn't have I don't think he had any pips and he didn't have a communicator. He's like a glorified civilian scientist or something. But if he's a scientist, why isn't he wearing blue?
Yeah.
Well, I guess engineering people wear gold. So I guess
he's gold. He's gold, but I don't really know what he was supposed to what his official position was because he had like a little square thing on the side of his collar, and this is first season, so uniforms are a little different too. They don't even have collar. They're just the pajamas. So
yeah, just the pajamas. They're good, comfy. No, actually, no, they were not comfy. They were spandex all the way up and down. It gave Patrick Stewart back problems in the first season.
Poor Patrick Stewart.
Poor Patrick Stewart
wearing pajamas.
Super tight pajamas.
So let's see. So so he go ahead.
He gets them. I just don't, so they're totally skeptical about these warp equations, and they use them, and the Traveler kind of goes, oops.
Oh, you mean when they're doing their first test?
Yeah. It's just like, I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I feel like he did it on purpose. And then he was like, oops.
No, what my theory is that Kozinski and the Traveler come aboard the Enterprise and they're doing their test. And the Traveler sits next to Wesley. And I think the Traveler took a shining to Wesley automatically. And I think it was like love at first sight.
Oh, just, the man-boy love association. He's the king of it. Man-boy. The man-boy love association. It's from South Park, I think.
Mambla's real. You know that, right?
Oh, it's real?
It's a real thing.
Did last podcast and talk about it too?
I believe so, yeah. So Mambla's real, but so whatever you want to consider their relationship.
No, but the thing is, like, I know this is kind of skipping ahead, but I think the Traveler was Jack Crusher. Or at least pretended to be Jack Crusher for at least part of their married relationship between Beverly and Jack.
Wait, so you're saying the Traveler knocked up Beverly?
I think so. I don't know why.
That's not that they didn't say that in the episode.
They didn't, but that's my theory because that's I feel like that's why. I feel like that's and the thing and if you listen to the terminology whenever he has his vision quest where he sees his dad, it's like I left you and your mom. Not like I died. I left you and your mom. And Wesley's being manipulated by the Traveler the entire episode because the Traveler's being different people.
Wait a second. See, here's where I have a problem with that, is that he said that he didn't, when he had his vision, Wesley had his vision quest with and he saw his father, Jack Crusher. Jack Crusher basically said that, it's time for you to go on your own way, take your own road. But
that could be the Traveler being Jack Crusher telling him to do that.
But when he woke up, when he talked to the Traveler, or what was his name, LaCanta, the guy who was posing as the Traveler posing as LaCanta, one of the colonists on the planet. Yeah. He said that he said he didn't do anything. That was totally his own vision.
I don't trust the Traveler. He's kind of a creepy pedophile, so he can do whatever he wants.
I'll give you that. He's a bit.
He is the king of Mambla. So, but I just always get like how is just two humans? How do two humans produce a Traveler? It just doesn't make sense. That it's like, oh, they compare him to Mozart, but I'm like, that's not being a prodigy and being like, a different species that has these powers isn't exactly the same thing.
I don't know. I think I have a different. I don't see Wesley as being the Jesus Christ or the Queza Haderach of the Star Trek universe. I see him more of as like he is a prodigy. He's a brilliant person, and the Traveler notices talents and says, "Hey, this kid's got something." And maybe I'll swing around in another, how many years? 4 years, till he was almost done with his time in the academy. That's my take,
Both are valid enough because we only have 3 episodes with the Traveler, and so much is left to interpretation. I just take it as that like the Traveler was Jack. I mean, he can obviously take other people's forms, so he could have taken Jack Crusher's form. Pretended to die, just continued traveling, checked back up on his kid, see if he's smart, and where no man has gone before. Comes back to save his, quote unquote ex-wife from his son's trap that he made accidentally, and then he's like stalking his son for the entire episode of Journey's End. And then takes him away from everything that he's known. I don't know. It just that's how it kind of seems to me.
I don't know. Mine's just I feel more linear. Just it's basically, Wesley was born. Unfortunately, his father died, and the Traveler bumped into him and said, "Hey, this kid's smarter than your average bear, kind of thing. So
yeah. To me, just the way when Jack Crusher said, "When I left you and your mom," it just like, Well,
I think it kind of meant that Jack Crusher's spirit is still traveling through the universe. He just hasn't. I mean, his spirit is still there, but
traveling. He's a traveler.
Well, yeah, but I don't see it the same way.
Or a different traveler. I don't know.
I just meant like you die in as theologians say that your spirit, your soul still keeps going. So that's kind of how I pictured it. That's when he discussed it.
But I think your point is valid, but I think mine is equally valid just because there's not anything to contradict or support either.
No, there's not. There's nothing.
They're both. Yours is probably more to the truth, but I like speculating a little bit crazier.
Right.
And it's even creepier if he's a weird pedophile if that is his son. So just saying.
Yeah, that would be even weirder. So anyway, Kaczynski does his warp drive thing. It messes up. Traveler is distracted by Wesley, and they get shot off.
What a good-looking young Will Wheaton. I got so distracted. Yeah. My 3 fingers got all hot. Oh.
Ooh, I got a boner in my finger.
My boner in my camel toe.
Ooh. Come sit next to me, Wesley. So they get shot off to Galaxy M33, and they have to return, which they do in the episode. But
it's 2.7 million light years away, and they estimated that it would be 300-year traveling at maximum warp. And this is like 5 or 6 minutes into the episode. I had to pause it and have a canon aneurysm.
Right. Well.
I texted Aaron. I'm like, wait. So it's going to take 300 years to go 2.7 million light years, but it's going to take 70 to go 70,000 light years. Math doesn't add up. And I did the math, and at maximum warp, based on the Kaczynski scale and how far away they are, based on maximum warp and the 300 years, it's only 8.3 years if they were traveling, if Voyager traveled at maximum warp to go back home.
Yeah, but you are talking about season 1, Next Generation, and then Voyager. So, I think they refigured things on the warp scales and stuff like that. I don't know.
Actually, the funny thing is the Memory Alpha also points this out. They didn't do the math the same way. The math is a little bit different, but they said Voyager's 3 times slower, 4 times slower than the Enterprise. If you look at, I don't know if it is in canon, but given the math, they're saying that the Voyager is somehow 3 or 4 times slower than the Enterprise.
It's possible. It's possible the Enterprise is just a bigger, faster ship. So,
but Warp 9 should be Warp 9. Doesn't matter how big or small your ship is. It's a scale for a reason. Or is it like men or women's clothes? You buy a size 32, but one size 32 will be too small, one will be just right, one will be too big.
Oh, jeez.
Is that how the warp scale works? It's not.
I don't know, but my experience with clothing and pants, especially, it seems to be the case.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So is warp scale as crappy as pants, or is warp scale based in science and the numbers mean something? I would say it's based in science, and so the numbers should mean something, unlike pants numbers.
See, I kind of thought that pants would be under science control.
You'd think 32 inches would be 32 inches, but No, sometimes it's 30, sometimes it's 34, and it's just well, why?
Yeah, it's actually literally infuriating to me because that's probably the only thing I have to go into the changing rooms for is to try on pants.
I hate it so much.
Oh, you're like, I should fit into this type of pants, but nope. It's a store. Their measurements are completely different. Anyways, let's get off pants. Get back to the Traveler. So
he has no pants.
Not around Wesley.
Nope.
He's got a finger boner.
It's just a jumpsuit it's probably like Spider-Man's, where you can just touch it and it'll just fall right off of him, like from the new Spider-Man that's coming out, or just slackens up and it just falls right off. I bet that's what the Traveler has.
I think you're going too far on this. So anyway, so they get back to their universe or galaxy, where no one has gone before, and the Traveler mentions to Picard that there's something really special about Wesley, and that you really should try to foster his gifts. And at the end of that episode, Picard makes Wesley acting ensign, which has got to be like completely confounding and infuriating to every other ensign who's actually gone through academy. Yeah, academy. He's like, wait, you're just going to make this kid an ensign?
Funny bit of side trivia. We were Aaron originally pitched the idea of the show being called The Drunken Ensign, and I'm like, what's even worse than an ensign? A drunken acting ensign.
Ooh, yeah.
And then we decided a single word might be more simpler and stick in people's heads better.
True enough.
Just some trivia.
You know what? I completely forgot that. So anyway, so Wesley becomes acting ensign. Next time we see the Traveler, we get to Remember Me, where Wesley's this is 3 seasons later. Wesley is experimenting with Kozinski's warp theory, and he creates a warp bubble and somehow traps his mom inside the warp bubble.
This is the best experiment ever. I'm going to put my mom in a hamster cage.
Which it's actually rewatching it. This is a wonderful episode. It's like, is she going crazy, or it's just so cool to watch.
Oh, it's really well done, because like people start disappearing, and she's like trying to set up this investigation of people, and then when she starts asking people about like, oh, what happened to? How come we only have 300 people? Yeah, it's like we never had a Klingon.
Yeah, we never had a Klingon.
And then when it's just Picard and her, he's like, there's never ever been anyone else on the ship but you and me.
Just you and me. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? We'll be banging in every room on the ship. It's great.
So, so anyways, the idea here is that she gets caught in it, and they don't really reveal, but much later is back in the outside reality. My printer's going off right now. Why printer? Back in the other reality is they realize this, and they're trying to get her back, and the Traveler comes to Wesley's assistance, and
I can't physically take your mother out, but we can try and show her the way.
Right.
But the crazy thing is, it's like she's not having a hallucination. She's in an actual, real universe of her making,
which is shrinking.
Which is shrinking to the size of the ship and then smaller.
Right. And so the Traveler shows up, and we don't really see him say goodbye, but obviously he was only there for just to help him get his mom out. The next time we see
when they're doing the calculations to help get his mom out, Wesley starts phasing out of existence like the Traveler did, and where no man has gone before.
Right.
Which is weird.
Yeah, that is pretty weird. I don't know if that's a Traveler or if that's just Wesley.
They both did.
Was the Traveler helping Wesley do that, or was that Wesley himself? Because that would kind of make Wesley have superpowers.
Well, but I think Wesley does have superpowers. I mean, that's the whole thing of when we come to Journey's End, and he takes them away because he's basically a Traveler, which is why I think the Traveler is really Wesley's real dad.
Interesting. Well, and then last we see him, Journey's End. It's a wonderful episode. It's about these American Indians who have settled into a planet 20 years ago, but they were on a 200-year journey.
But they never call them American Indians; they just call them regular Indians.
Right. Well, but
Earth Indians.
They're Earth Indians.
Earth American Indians, not Earth Indian Indians.
Are we talking about the Indians from the continent of India?
No, we're being racist. No, I mean the show's being racist.
And they don't even tell you what tribe they're from.
And they're culturally insensitive.
They're just Indians.
Akichimoya, we are far away from the boners of our fathers.
Oh my God. Anyways, so
this is the colony where Chakotay is from, because they're on the whole point of this episode. It's sort of like a Star Trek Insurrection, where they're having to relocate this colony because they're in a place where they don't need to be. But this time they're on the border of Cardassian space. So this is kind of this is the formation of the Maquis. This is specifically made for Voyager and for Deep Space Nine. Like, this is setting up the seeds for that.
Right. So the Traveler shows up, and he shows up as one of the colonists. His name is Lakanta.
He reminds me of Chakotay a little bit. Just the way he looks a little bit. I was like, oh.
Yeah, a little bit.
Chakotay protege.
And then he says he knew Wesley was coming and all this stuff. So when Wesley
super stalkery and creepy, just super creepy.
Yeah, and that's the thing is when we see Wesley at the beginning of Journey's End, he's on. Like,
he is a vacation. Punk.
I'm sorry, what?
He is a punk.
Yeah, he's on vacation. He's on spring break.
He doesn't want to sleep with his mommy anymore. He gets his own quarters.
Don't you want to stay in the same bed?
Remember I gave you sex ed? Yeah, it was great. No, but like Jordy shows Wesley this really cool thing that he's been working on, and Wesley's like, "Oh man, this is a piece of crap. Don't you read the most, Engineering Hipsters Weekly?"
Yeah, Hipsters Weekly.
Engineering Hipsters Weekly, because like he's like, "Oh man, this is garbage. Like, didn't you read this guy's article?" And I'm like, and oh man, Wesley just being a total jerk.
Well, it's obviously Wesley's unhappy. He doesn't want to be in Starfleet anymore. He doesn't want to be in the Academy anymore, and maybe he's kind of outgrown that role. So when LaCanta takes him on a vision quest, he sees his father, who had passed away when he was a child, like young child.
I think an infant.
Say again?
I think he was an infant.
Oh, that's what I meant, like a baby. And then he tells him, hey, you should go on your own path. You shouldn't follow my path. Do your own thing. So that's where Wesley says, I'm quitting Starfleet. And he takes off, back to the planet. And LaCanta, later on, during one of the conflicts with the Cardassians, reveals himself to be the Traveler. And kind of says, hey, let's go off in the universe together. Have fun.
Super creepy. But then it turns out that they didn't go off into the universe together. They're going to hang out with the Indians, because the Indians are going to teach him spiritual things, which the Traveler doesn't know anything about.
Well, okay, so those are the 3 episodes that, I mean, all 3 episodes are actually very much worth watching. If you want to see any of those things, a lot of fun to watch them.
Yeah, they're all really good episodes.
Oh yeah.
So even considering Where No Man Has Gone Before is like episode 5, I think, of season 1, and season 1's pretty rough. This is actually a pretty good episode for season 1.
Right, and so the thing is, there's a couple thoughts here. So first of all, the Traveler is not quite. He's not quite a normal alien. Like they say he is from Tau Alpha C or Tau Ceti, but he's not really I don't think he's an actual alien. I think he's just masquerading as an alien. I think when he shows himself in Journey's End, mm-hmm. I think he's just showing to Wesley. He says, "Remember me?" And like, "Oh, you," So
you think he's like sort of like just a spiritual being that happens to manifest physically every now and then?
I think he's sort of like a Q type character, just not as powerful. I think he's sort of like a guy who kind of just jumps around exploring, but he has more heightened abilities than an average corporeal being. Mm-hmm. So that's just my take on it. Because remember when Troy first meets him, she says, I get nothing from him. He's literally not even here. Like there's no thoughts or any emotion or anything coming from him. So, which would make me feel that maybe he's just but
she gets the same thing from Ferengis though. So.
Yeah, well, Ferengis are different too, but.
Yeah, I know, but just because she can't sense a person doesn't really mean anything.
That's a good point, but.
Her power, like, I really wish they did more with her power in the show, other than stating basic intuition and common sense. Because I mean, being able to read people's emotions would be great, but like I just feel like every time like Picard's like counselor, she just says something and it's like it's pretty much inferred from just common sense or just basically reading his people's body language. It's not like she's like deeply insightful of like what's actually happening emotionally to be of any use. Right.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. But but my feeling is that they're not quite like a Q character. They're maybe just a little bit more elevated than a standard alien or like I said, a corporeal state alien. So maybe they're like somewhat like an energy that can travel through and explore a little easier than us.
Yeah,
so.
like a sub Q, which I mean, like I know you were saying that you think it's just Wesley's just a normal guy and he was not part traveler at all. Which I mean, it sort of lines up with what Gene Roddenberry was wanting to do, because I mean, a lot of times early in season 1, especially, they meet these aliens and it's like, oh well, you're not quite ready. Like, you're getting close, but you're not quite ready to like really be in this part of space or be enlightened like this. And just so it's just kind of like, oh, we're getting there, but we're not. And then Wesley's like being the Mary Sue of the next generation, and also being named after Gene Roddenberry's middle name. He's kind of like that, that character that just gets has that special thing. And maybe he was just meant to be human, humanity evolved, which is why he's the Mary Sue and can fix everything, even though he's just a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I think they definitely blew. I mean, my original take on Wesley in the beginning was just that he was obviously maybe a prodigy, but he was like a way to get like younger people into the show. Like, oh, here's a young kid and he's part of the adventures too. Mm-hmm. So, but then they kind of like made his role like, by the time they get to Journey's End, he's like, oh, you're maybe almost a god or godlike, or whatever, superhuman.
Yeah. Which is why I kind of wish that he'd be part traveler instead of just like a superhuman, because like I love Will Wheaton as a person, and how important he is in geek culture currently, but I don't like the character of Wesley like at all. I would rather him be part alien than just be superhuman god person. Which is maybe why I've formulated my theory about his past and origin the way I did.
Yeah. Second thing is I wanted to bring out was the Traveler saying that, time and space, and propulsion systems like he was doing. But then on top of that, he says thought influences this too. And what did you think about that? Like the idea that your thoughts can influence the universe. I thought there was a strange idea behind everything.
I think it's fascinating. It's a fascinating idea because it can make you think, like, is space big because we believe it is and our instruments tell us it is, or can we believe that it's smaller than it seems? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's an interesting concept, and maybe that belief that things are smaller than they are is what lets a traveler move these vast distances in almost no amount of time.
Right.
I mean, it's an interesting concept, and people are. I know I've read scientists are trying to figure out if we're actually in a computer program or not, and does thought, change the parameters of that. Yeah.
I agreed as well. I mean, there's some interesting thoughts there that, like, I mean, does our thoughts control our own reality? Like when you're in a negative space and you're thinking real negatively, does your negative emotions or thoughts impact your reality? Does it manifest itself? Or opposite, are you thinking positive about things? Does that impact it as well?
Well, it impacts it impacts your health at least.
Oh yeah.
It's interesting. Erin Gray is going to be at the con. And I'm mentioning this because I do have a point. She's going to be at the con, and I've kind of been researching her because I do want to talk to her and try to get her, at least a little bit of snippet on the show, because she was in Star Trek Continues for 2 episodes. So it'd be kind of neat to be able to talk with her. And of course, she was in Buck Rogers, another science fiction thing. So I want to talk with her, but I've been doing research on her. And she said, as an actor, like, Eastern medicine says, like, acting is dangerous to you because you're constantly either raging or sad or upset, and you're doing these emotions, these hard, strong emotions over and over again. And your body doesn't know the difference between pretending to do these emotions and having these emotions for real. And different emotions have a different, different impact on your physical well-being. And so she started studying Tai Chi to help fix the problems with her, having to go through these emotions over and over again, which I found was really, really interesting. That's, a take someone has. And I've been looking up videos online trying to do some, and it's actually been helping me sleep. I usually lay in bed for hours at a time before I fall asleep. I've been trying to do a little bit before I go to bed, And
that's cool.
It's putting me to sleep, which is kind of cool.
I thought all the alcohol would have put you to sleep, but
I wish, but a little bit of exercise and some deep breathing that does help. So I mean, I'm not super deep into it. I don't know a whole lot about it. I don't know much. I've been watching a couple short videos before I go to bed, and it's helping me at least sleep and calm my mind so I can turn it off and go to sleep, which is it's fascinating. So if it does other stuff for other people, I think that's super interesting at how emotions play into your life and how you can kind of fix them or change them based on what you do.
Gotcha. But I do believe that there is some truth to that there's, like I said, if you're in a negative space or a positive space, you can kind of change how things are. Maybe not completely, but there is something to be said about like your mindset and what you can do for your reality around you. So it is possible. Maybe if you have a strong enough will, maybe you can change the world around you.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the Steve Jobs said, like, something like, people who are crazy enough to say they can change the world actually can. It's I'm sure I'm butchering the phrase, but it's just like most people think they think they can't change the world, but if you're crazy enough to think you can, you might. Yeah.
And I think so. There might be some validity to that, but the actual idea that like your thought or could transfer things to a propulsion system, and you can warp time and space around you, so you can shoot, like however far M33 galaxy is, seems a little strong, but.
Oh yeah, I mean it definitely seems.
I mean he's an alien traveler, so I mean maybe things are different for him.
Yeah, and especially if he's mostly non-corporeal. I mean, what would you? If you're mostly non-corporeal, what would be able to move you between places? It would have to be thought.
Yeah, right.
And when he's taking the Enterprise with him, he's like latched onto the console. He's basically bear hugging the thing. He's like taking the ship with him when he's going. So I mean,
he's almost like grabbing it by the console and just pulling it through.
Just pulling it along with him, because their instruments say the ship never really went past 1.5.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's interesting that he could even do that, like slingshot it across it that far.
Yeah, I mean I'm just kind of just postulating on just the visual cues we have based on what, and then also saying what they're saying, that thought propels them. But if he's not a corporeal being most of the time, which I mean apparently he isn't, since he just disappears, and when he disappears he's not dead because he does manifest in 2 other episodes. So if he's mostly a non-corporeal thing, well, the only thing that could transport him would be thought.
Right. But, and then maybe that's how he got involved with going with Kozinski. Originally, he found him and thought, this is a great way for me to hitchhike through the universe and kind of just like, get to meet all these people in the Federation space. And
then be able to, experience it, physically, instead of, actually be there, instead of kind of just floating over it or whatever it is like to be non-corporeal.
Right. And so that all being said, so the Traveler is a bit of an explorer in that sense. I mean, like I suppose he could just kind of like float around if he wanted to, but maybe the warp drives can help him get there faster, or maybe he can just
harness. Yeah.
Or maybe he can just as well just check out the local cuisine,
Yeah, maybe. Wesley. Other young boy. That's a nice cuisine. Lean cuisine.
Lean cuisine. Yeah. He and I guess the final
he didn't take the chubby Argyle. Chief Argyle. He was all about that Wesley.
I do want to touch on Argyle. Like, where did he go? He just disappeared after first season.
Well, yeah, so. they gave Geordi, instead of making the blind guy fly, let's make the blind guy fix the engines. Because, I mean, Geordi flew pretty much the entire first season. He was, the pilot. Which, I mean, I guess, that was kind of Gene Roddenberry's point, but then I guess it's like, I guess we don't have Argyle anymore. We got to make one of the main people It was really strange not having a main character be the engineer in the first season. Just Argyle showed up every now and then whenever they needed an engineer. Now let's get into the creep factor.
Yeah. Do you want to...
Jordy, creep factor 7.
Exactly. I mean, like I said, his character is so placid and so...
pasty. And, like, they made him even pastier in the second 2 episodes.
Yeah.
It's just... I don't know. They made really weird design decisions and really weird acting decisions. Because, I mean, I know I joked about it before on previous episodes where I've said, like, whenever the Traveler's in sick bay and Picard's, like, there, he's like, everyone go, go, go. I've got to tell Picard something very important that no one else can hear.
Oh, right.
And he's like, yeah, he's Wesley's special. I'm gonna try to restrain myself till he's 18, and just let me know.
I'm just trying to hold back, man.
Trying to hold
really
back.
Bad. I don't want to get a bad rap.
Don't want to get I can't go for underage cadets, but
Well, once he gets that sweet age,
then I can take him across the universe and show him the stars. And my camel toe.
Ooh. Yeah, so he definitely has that. I mean, at first it seems like friendly, and then it just seems like, why does he just keep on showing up?
I think it's absolutely the worst. I mean, like, it's weird where no one has gone before. It's not weird in Remember Me, even though the name of the episode is called Remember Me, and I totally did not remember the Traveler being in that episode at all until I read the Memory Alpha and rewatched the episode. Very strange. And we talked before the episode, you said you didn't remember him being in that episode either, which is really strange, especially considering the episode's called Remember Me. And like,
Right.
Like, did the Traveler come through and erase both our minds of him being in this episode? It's so weird. And then I think it's the creepiest in Journey's End because, like, he's the Kuta Kinte guy or whatever.
Kuta Kinte?
No.
Oh.
No, not a Kuta Kinte. No, what's his name? The Indian guy, the proto Chakotay.
Lakanta.
Lakanta. He's like watching Wesley. He like walks up to Wesley and 10 forward. He's like watching him on the planet. You're coming to this cave. Let's smoke some herbs and all this weird.
Oh yeah, get him.
And then at the end, get him high,
a little juiced up before we take him on his journey.
And then he reveals himself as the Traveler at the end. I'm like, man, that's so creepy. That's by far the creepiest thing that the Traveler did. I think it's just like
So he's looking to get a date. So he gets his love interest all like high
and whacked out,
and then he makes his move.
Puts on an Indian skin so he can look exotic to his human eyes.
So is the costume he wears is just what it looks like in his bodily form.
Yes,
so it's like it's so his outfit.
It's tall and frumpy.
Yeah, he's like a skinwalker or something like that.
It's like if Slender Man wasn't wearing a suit.
Oh man, it's even creepier.
Yes.
Oh my god.
I bet no one's ever made that comparison before. Traveler equals Slender Man.
Well, maybe not Slender Man, but like I said, maybe a skinwalker. Some people say that they look like you, or they take on a form of somebody else. So.
Which is also why I kept saying that he was Jack Crusher for a little while, because they can take human form, or whatever form they want. I mean, they're super creepy, and he's the only Traveler we ever see, so we don't know if that's just a general thing for all Travelers, or if it's. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, you can't pronounce my name." It's like, I don't have a name. Shit, I don't have a name. Yeah, I'll just tell
Jack Crusher.
I'll just tell people they can't pronounce it, and I'll just be like, just call me the Traveler, because I go places. He should hang out with a pack lead.
Oh my god!
Can you make us go?
I think that would be just annoying.
And they're super frumpy too, but they're not lean cuisine like Wesley.
Yeah, I don't think he goes that way. I think he goes nice, young, lean, and mean.
And actually smart, because Packlet are not smart. So I guess he wouldn't hang out with the Packlet.
So he didn't just go for Wesley's body. He was also going for his mind.
Yeah, that's true.
So you can't say he's like a total creep.
But he's super creepy. He just comes off as creepy.
But, maybe like you said, maybe he waited until he was the age of consent, and then he was like, "Hey, Wesley, me and you across the universe."
But then he builds up. It's like, "Oh, you're like Mozart," and it's like, "So I became a prodigy, and then I died super young." That's not a great comparison.
Oh, jeez.
Poor Mozart.
He did die.
He did die really young.
Well, maybe the Traveler picked him up.
Oh, maybe he did. Maybe he just plays piano for the Traveler all the time.
Come to my music room. I have Mozart playing nonstop. Please make me stop. I'm dying here. Ah.
It would just be utter madness.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, all joking aside, the Traveler could. Do you think it was a mutual friendship that he saw something in Wesley, or do you think that he actually thought Wesley is a young proto-Traveler or soon-to-be Traveler, like going to make that jump to Traveler?
My personal take on it is that he's just following up on his kid, because I think he impregnated, posed as Jack and impregnated Beverly. That's why I think he's just making sure his kid follows in his footsteps. I think that's what's going on. But but also I know Gene Roddenberry is wanting humans to evolve. So I think your idea that it's just normal and then it just Wesley's evolving is also possible too.
Your take is, the Traveler is the Holy Spirit, Beverly is Mary, and Wesley is a young Jesus Christ.
And they were trying to go super religious with it. In the original script, they wanted for Where No Man Has Gone Before, they wanted them to be gone for 6 days and then say something like, "Oh, they rested on the 7th and they just kind of hung out, like they were lost for 6 days." Like the script went through so many different little rewrites.
Did they really? Would they want to do that?
For no one, yeah, it's weird. Like the only thing that's from the original script that made it into the episode is Picard almost falling out of the turbo shaft and Picard talking to his mother or his grandmama or whatever she was. Those were the only 2 scenes that were left from the original script. The Traveler and Kaczynski were added later, and there was a bunch of weird stuff. I mean, they didn't go into it in super detail, but they said they wanted it to be like kind of religious. And kind of like this biblical thing a little bit in the episode, but then they kind of left it, and they totally changed it. But you saying that he's the Holy Spirit and she's Mary and he's Jesus, and I'm like, it's sort of a little bit goes in with the biblical aspect of what they were briefly alluded to in the Memory Alpha.
But that's strange that would even be an angle that they were even originally going with, because seeing how Roddenberry was an atheist, so. Like, what would the logic behind that be? Was that just the writers, or?
I guess so. Let's see. In the original teleplay, Kaczynski was responsible for the warp effect and the accident. He also had a son who felt his father is more interested in his work than him. The hallucinations were much more bizarre in the actual episode. Jack Crusher appeared to Picard and Beverly, and the Enterprise appeared inside a cosmological egg, where the starship escaped and it exploded and it caused the birth of a new universe. A sort of biblical pun, quote unquote. The Enterprise spends 6 days missing, and Picard orders the next day to be a day of rest. This is according to the Star Trek: The Next Generation Compendium, page 36.
Huh. That's weird.
Yeah, it's really weird.
I don't know. So, who knows? I mean, who knows what the thought behind all that was? I mean, that they would do that, and then. But
the thing is, I mean, I think your idea that it just went through chronological, and then Wesley's just Jack Crusher and Beverly were just people, and Wesley's just changing. I think that's also valid, because I know Gene Roddenberry wanted that for the human race to be evolving and becoming better.
And the next thought is that Journey's End, obviously, they have the spiritual side of the American Indians.
Well, Roddenberry's dead at this point, though.
Right, but I mean, obviously, it has a huge bent on that spiritual, the spiritual side of it. That's a huge angle of that story. Yeah,
the Vision Quest, and then them staying on the planet, the Traveler and Wesley staying on the planet to learn more from them. Which is also kind of weird. It's like, oh, we're going to just go away. Because, Traveler tells Wesley, oh, you have to trust them to solve their own problems because they're small and little and stupid. We're as big and enlightened. We're going to leave. And then it's like, Wesley's back. And it's like, oh yeah, we're going to hang out here in the scary demilitarized zone and just learn from the Indians and their struggles against the Cardassians.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think, but I kind of took it as that this is just the starting point. You're gonna, you've crunched all the numbers about how to, with propulsion systems, all that stuff. Now we're gonna get on the spiritual side, and this is a great place to start.
Yeah,
that's how I took it, and not that they were going to be there forever. Maybe they'd be there for 6 months to a year, and then they go do their next thing. But anyways. And I looked in Memory Beta, and the only other thing about the Traveler that really shows up that he was in mentioned in a novel called A Time to Be Born. So, and that's basically all that's been really written about the Traveler, which just seems strange that there would be. You would think the Traveler would pop up more often.
Oh, not if you suspect there's a pedophile. Maybe people don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
But there should even be
or maybe that's just our twisted, irreverent view at Star Trek, thinking that he's a pedophile. Who knows? But
or what about some gay erotica? Why isn't that out there?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they're not popular enough characters. There's definitely lots of slash fiction in Star Trek, but it's usually involving the more popular characters. Kirk, Spock, slash fiction.
Right.
Maybe some of the women in Voyager. A Dax. Dax and Kira slash fiction.
Right.
Stuff like that. I'm sure that because they're bigger characters. Wesley was generally hated. I don't know anyone besides Gene Roddenberry who. I don't know Gene Roddenberry, but I know Gene Roddenberry was very protective of the character of Wesley. I don't know anyone that just was in love with the character of Wesley. So, I don't think he's going to get, a lot of stuff written about him because I just don't think he was a popular character. And then on top of, you got the Traveler who only appeared 3 times. And one of the times was so forgetful. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
They're just probably not popular enough to get slash fiction written for them. Although, the internet's a big, vast place. Maybe there is somewhere.
That's a good point. Maybe it's hitting some hidden.
It's a deep web fan fiction.
Oh, jeez. Well, people, if you're listening to this, you know what you have to do.
If you find it, send it to us at synthaholics@yahoo.com.
Yeah, or if you've written it.
Oh yeah, if you've written it, you can send it to us. Let us know if you're the writer of the some Star Trek slash fiction. Maybe we can read some on the air. Maybe that can be a Patreon thing. We can read the parts back and forth. Me and you, Aaron.
Or how about we just read slash fiction period?
Yeah, as a Patreon reward, we'll just you can be Spock, I'll be Kirk, or something like that. We can just read the slash fiction.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
As a Patreon reward. What do you guys think? Do you think that would be a fun Patreon reward? Let us know.
Yeah, definitely.
That would be hilarious.
That actually might be really fun to do.
Because I know last podcast on the left, I think they do a Bible readings and just different creepypasta readings. To keep it in Star Trek, we could do slash fiction readings. But narrated, like where we played the different parts.
Oh my god, it's just gonna be uncomfortable.
I don't know. I just random crazy idea. I don't know what you guys think.
That is a very funny idea though. So let us know if that's something you would like to see.
Would you like to hear that? Would you be willing to pay us on Patreon for that? Let us know.
It's so funny.
Do you want to hear us whore each other out?
Oh my god. So we've gone through all the Traveler angles I think possible, and like I said, unfortunately, even in the fandom, he's very underdeveloped.
I just wish Q was in one of the episodes with the Traveler, because I would love to get Q's take on what the Traveler is. Mm-hmm. Just to maybe get that fleshed out a little bit. And speaking of the Q and knowing what things are, I want to know what Guinan's race. There's
kind of muddled. You don't really know what's going on with them.
Yeah. And Q's let me get this monster off your ship, and then Guinan puts up her hands she can do something to defend herself against the Q. So Guinan's more than what she seems too. So There's just so much unexplored stuff in Star Trek. Maybe Discovery will hit upon some of these unexplored things because
I doubt it.
Yeah, but I mean,
the one thing is it says that in the Qtinium in the series, the Traveler had a reputation with them. So the Traveler is known to the Q.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, the Q are omnipotent, so they would need to know about the Q. I mean, the Travelers.
But they had a significant reputation among the Q.
Is that from the Memory Beta?
No, this is in Memory Alpha and background information. So
it must have been written by the writers in a backstory in some kind of Star Trek compendium somewhere, because it's not in the 3 episodes we saw.
Well, yeah, we don't know anything about that, but who knows?
Yeah.
It's just an interesting. That was one of their books, I guess.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I mean, there's lots of different Star Trek books compendiums that kind of go into some extra information, which a lot of what is in them is on Memory Alpha. So Memory Alpha is an amazing resource. So if you ever have a question about Star Trek and want to look it up, Memory Alpha is a good place. Yeah. But you can always email us if you have questions about us and the show. Because I mean, if you want to hear our take on it, you can always email us. Synthaholics@yahoo.com.
Absolutely, and I hear you have another email for us.
Yes, I do have an email from my brother, Joshua. It's a couple weeks old, so I apologize being late on the draw. So, from my brother, Trek Novels, he said a few episodes ago, which will be even more now, you requested some fan mail about Star Trek novels. I haven't read many, but I am several books into a Star Trek novel series called Seekers. I don't know if it's technically Star Trek canon, but it's an outstanding series, and I would highly recommend it to any Star Trek fan, especially if you're a fan of the original series episode formula. It's got everything you could possibly want: accidental first contact with a strange pre-warp civilization, intense moral dilemmas, and Klingon interference evil agendas. The only thing that's not consistent with old-school Star Trek is that the story is pretty brutal. If the movie adaptation was made of this story, it would no doubt be giving a hard R rating, and is set in the TOS era and focuses on a small Federation Archer-class scout ship. It's also built off the events of a TOS episode. The name of the episode escapes me at the moment, but it's the one where Kirk touches the alien artifact and thinks that he is the native and gets married, I think.
That one. I remember that one.
Shoot, that's Kirok? Oh, that's what he calls himself. I don't remember if that's the name of the episode or not.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
But Warp 11 has a song called Kirok, and that it narrates the plot of that episode, which is pretty good. Let's see. Probably Shatner's favorite episode, where he thinks he's a god. Meanwhile, Spock takes the Enterprise to deal with a large meteor that's on a collision course with the planet Kirk is on. Anyway, a very exciting story. These books are hard to put down. It's highly recommended. Oh, and David, sorry we didn't get around to Star Trek commentary when you were down visiting. That would have been cool. I didn't realize Leah's reception was only be 12 hours long. We would have stayed longer if I could have. Hopefully next time, Joshua. Yeah, for the wedding, my brother was only, when I went down on vacation, we was only stay for a little bit, and my sister's reception was literally the entire day.
Wow, that's crazy. It
was fun. It was a great time, but it was an all day thing. So my brother thought, he didn't realize it was going to be that long, so he thought we'd be able to hang out more. But it was cool. It's good getting to see him. I hadn't seen him in years, so it was a good time. Yeah, thanks for the recommendations on the books.
I actually seen the Seekers book before, and it's like it's funny because these novels, a lot of times you can burn through them like within a couple days if it's according to what your time schedule is. But like I can get through them in like 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
But like I saw this, but a lot of these novels you can read and you're just like, oh, what a crappy book, so I never know which one's good. I would love to see like a site that just like ranks like what's good and what's bad, like what are good books you really should read.
But that's a problem. I mean, what's good and bad is totally subjective to the person.
Yeah, but you kind of know too, like some are kind of boring and some are more exciting. Because I've read a few Star Trek novels where just literally just like watching paint dry.
Oh, that's painful. I mean, I haven't read George R. R. Martin's Game of Thrones, but I would imagine reading them would be a pain. I listened to them in audiobook, and it made it really digestible that way. I just don't know if I'd be able to make it through those, reading them. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, because I was actually thinking about that today, just in general. Some stories, just maybe better for the audio medium, just because you can appreciate the story instead of having to read through the details.
True enough. Yeah, absolutely.
Because I mean, The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and those are fantastic stories, but just having to wade through all the boring details when you're reading it is kind of a drag. Because I mean, I just have a hard time reading those books even now. As much as I love the movies, I just feel like the books drag.
Really, I don't really have. They kind of flow pretty quickly for me. I even find that they're written, like especially The Hobbit. They're almost written for a young person. I mean, Lord of the Rings gets a little more in depth, but.
Well, the last time I read Lord of the Rings, I felt like The Two Towers was the only one that flowed really well. And I felt like The Two Towers was almost written by someone completely different. Because, like, I read The Fellowship of the Ring, and it was kind of clunky. And The Two Towers are super smooth. I remember, like, going through Two Towers, and I was like, wow, this is almost feels like a different author. And then I went back to Return of the King, and I was like, it was kind of clunky like Fellowship was for me. I mean, that was just my personal take on reading the books.
Yeah, right.
But speaking of books you should read and things you should see, American Gods. I know. I don't think you've seen it yet, Aaron.
I haven't watched it, no, but I've read the book.
The first episode is absolutely amazing. I have no idea what the show's about after an hour of TV, but I'm still hooked. It was absolutely amazing. And I guess we should have probably talked about this in news because Brian Fuller's the executive producer on that show. And now that he's not executive producing Star Trek Discovery, he's got me even more disappointed now at how amazing the first episode of American Gods was.
Right.
Like, right. It just, I mean, I know he didn't write it, but I mean, just his take on it, his producing, the way he does TV. I mean, he got away with a ton of stuff on TV with Hannibal. And right. Like, it was one of the most violent shows, and then, this is on Starz, so he can take it up a notch, and he did, and it was just the storytelling and the visual aspect of it's absolutely amazing. I'm so sad that he's not involved with Star Trek anymore after seeing how good this is.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of the previews for it. It looks great. I just haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it, so I do plan on watching it as soon as I can. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I read the novel. The novel's fantastic, and now they have the comic out, which I've read like 2 issues already. Mm-hmm. I'm not really crazy about the comic art adaptation of it, but the story is just so much fun. So.
It seems like it's going to be really wild. The first episode just kind of scratches the surface and it kind of jumps around a little bit. Like, I don't know what I'm looking at, but it's amazing.
That's cool. Cool.
It's just like, wow, this is so cool.
Right.
And just really well done and really compelling. Like, just immediately. Like, that's how you do a first episode of television. And Star Trek Discovery's got to be this compelling because the first episode's going to be on CBS, and then the other episodes are going on that paywall, and that first episode's got to be super compelling to get people to watch it.
Get people into it, right? Exactly. Let's hope so. I was a guy said he thinks that in late summertime, they're going to release it. So,
well, Les Moonves has said twice recently that it's fall. This is on the heels of the guy saying we have no release date planned. Les Moonves has said at least twice now that it's going to be fall again.
I wonder if it's because now the writer's strike is off now. So,
well, I mean the writing should have been done. I mean, I also saw something that Les Moonves said. I think on like a CBS, like those stock shareholders meetings or something like that. He said there's like several episodes in the can already. And the season's only going to be 13 episodes unless they've changed their minds on it. So, I mean, having some in the can, I mean, I just imagine they're just shooting it at the moment.
Yeah, sure, but sometimes there's like rewrites they have to do real quickly for one reason or another. So, yeah, who knows? That's cool, but hopefully it is kick-ass. Maybe Brian Fuller's influence will be well seen and felt in those first couple episodes.
I hope so, because he wrote the first 2, and then he left or was asked to leave. I'm not sure exactly how it went down. It seems like there's some things say this, some things say that. Right.
Well, maybe we'll find out in 10 years from now.
Who knows?
Right.
But I don't know. I can't wait for the next episode of American Gods, and I can't wait to see how Star Trek Discovery turns out. I hope it's super compelling, because I mean, just American Gods, it was super compelling. I was like, I don't even know what I'm watching, and I love this. So it's
cool.
It's cool. But
yeah.
All our music is funded by Warp 11. You can find it at warp11.com or Warp 11 on Twitter. You can find me at David_J_Duncan. The show is at Synthaholic Duo.
I'm at Blackbird2004.
And guys at GS Davis Art. You can find us on iTunes and Stitcher. We love stars and we love reviews. That these help us get seen so that more people can find the show, because we're here for you. We're here for the listeners, and the more listeners we have, the happier we'll be.
Everyone will be.
Yeah. We'll be able to provide more content and everything when more people find us and fall in love with us and think, hey, these guys are funny. These guys like Star Trek, but they take it seriously, but they are also, they take it reverently too.
We want you to fall in love with us like the Traveler fell in love with Wesley.
But even worse.
Just take us over the council. What are you doing to that young boy?
Sweet slash fiction.
Oh. So, talking about slash fiction and possible readings,
if you guys think that's a good idea, let us know. And, maybe we'll make that a reward on our Patreon. You can find that at patreon.com/Synthaholics. And if you want to support Guy and his art, it's at patreon.com/GSDavisArt.
Yeah, and in addition, if you have any other suggestions, just shoot us an email, synthaholics@yahoo.com. We love to hear from you. We love to read emails online or on the show, so that'd be great to hear from anybody.
Yeah, and we still haven't heard if you want that tier where Aaron runs naked through the woods. We're still waiting on that one.
Man, just no takers.
No takers on that one. Aaron proposed this over like a year and a half ago, and no one has said anything about it.
Yeah,
yeah, it's almost 2 years. Yeah, because it's starting to warm up again, so we can actually do that in Buffalo, run naked through the woods.
And lastly, if you know anybody who'd be interested in a Star Trek podcast, into talking sci-fi with some levity to it, let them know about Synthaholics, so that word of mouth is a wonderful thing to get people to know that this is a great podcast to listen to.
Word of mouth is the best thing, because we don't really advertise or anything, so we need you to spread the word with your mouths.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sure thing.
Most definitely. Well, it's good to be back. Thank you, Aaron, and for talking with Guy and doing that episode last week. It was fantabulous. It was long. It was epic. It was interesting.
Yeah, we had fun. I think we went a little bit too long. I think I lost track of time because me and Guy were having such a fun conversation. But we got kind of lost in our own world there.
Yeah, but it was definitely a fun listen. It was also a bizarre thing being, not being on an episode. It was the first episode I've not been on. I was like, wow, that's really weird, but it's really cool to hear it continue on without me. It was awesome. So thank you guys for that. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad we could do it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, one and all. Thank you for listening. Hope you all have a great day, evening, morning, whenever you happen to listen to this. Live long and prosper, one and all.
Puke in the sink and we'll cry till we laugh, and we'll both shit our pants. You're the best drinking friend I ever had.
Woo!
Cool. Very cool. I'm looking up slash fiction Star Trek.
Alrighty, here we go. Welcome to Synthaholics. This is your host, David Duncan, and with me I'm back, David, and...
Why'd you start again?
Yeah. Welcome to Synthaholics. I'm back. It's David.
It's terrible.
I just did the normal thing.
Yeah. And then I'll say it's nice to have you back. Hey, buddy, hold on a second.
Caw-caw! Caw-caw!
Caw-caw! Caw-caw!